What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Tam and Bear UniVersus Super Show, a radio call-in show where you can be the special guest live over on the channel. If you have questions and you're live over on YouTube or Twitch, all you got to do is over on Twitch type an exclamation point, ask a question. But basically, it is I have a ticket system inside of my Discord called Ask Tam a Question. Open up a ticket. Write down your question, come be on the show, and me, you, and Bear are going to talk about your question for about 15-20 minutes. Zachary Richards, hit me with your question, my guy.
So, this is the promised topic. Why should we recommend boss battles to new players?
So funny. What an insane segue.
Boss battles are a fundamentally different game than normal quote-unquote UniVersus.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So, why is that what we would recommend to a new player?
I can sit here and talk for 7 hours about this.
I know you could. Can I cheat and use part of what I just said to Rebby, which is like, I think at its core, like the idea of you play an attack, resolve a form, send it at a thing. The boss attacks you at some point. You have the ability to block. I would persuade my new players to try and block just for the sake of fundamentals, right? Because I think the reality is that most boss battles are pretty easy. Why should we teach them this fundamentally different thing as a way to get into the game? And the idea is just simply for using fundamentals. There's a big asterisk there, and I even said it when Rebby was here. The asterisk is there's just not enough investment in the space, which then leads to things like cards within a set not even working in boss battles, period, which is a miss. That's a big miss for sure. But I think like it's just a starting point is the best way I can word it. And it's less pressure than when you play against, I'm growing up in Rochester and I want to go and get into UniVersus, and I walk into the store and I get introduced to the crew and they go, "Oh, Dad, this is your 4-time world champion. This is your 2-time world champion. This guy's made $125,000 playing this game." And you go, "Oh, I've never played this game a day in my life." And they say, "Well, the best way to learn is to play against us. Saddle up." That's really intimidating. But when you work as a cooperative,
those things can be bad, right?
Yeah, they can be. I think anything new is scary, right? I think that's the asterisk there. But I think the idea is like, if in a cooperative experience, if I sit next to Kevin Broberg and I go, "Hey, you and me, we're gonna work together to defeat this thing," and they go, "Oh, okay," and you look at them, and like, if I'm Kevin in this scenario, and you look at them and you go, "And I'm gonna help you," and that's how we're gonna learn to play this game together. That's what a teacher would do. You're not gonna 1v1 the teacher in a battle of wits of calculus when I walk into calculus class for the first time in my life. No, you're going to work together and figure out how the person who knows the knowledge learned and got to the spot that they're at by working along with the teacher. And I think that's where they can be in a good space.
I think my thing is, you're also not going to teach someone pickleball if you're training them to play tennis. There's a lot of similar skills. Those games play kind of similar, but they're not the same game.
So this is where I get into I get deep. I think one of the biggest issues that we have in our card game is there is a singular way to play, and that is at regional hyper-competitive levels.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yes.
There is one singular focus, and that is if you do not go to a regional, and we have a cultural zeitgeist of you are going to play every single round of the regional, because what the fuck else are you going to do? What are you going to do? Am I going to sit there and twiddle my thumbs? The side events don't happen until the regional's done. They just don't do it. There is no kitchen table way to play the game. There is no commander way to play the game. There is no pauper. There is no somebody saying triple threat. That's not a real format. There is not a supported format. We have no draft. We have no sealed. We don't have it. We have go spend 3 $300 to $1,000 on a constructed deck and go play your 9 rounds, go lose, and then go home. That's all we have. Boss battles, if made correctly, are an entry point that it puts everybody not on the same plane, but if one person is actively stronger, if they brought that $800 deck and they're playing exclusively ultra rares, and they bought the Harley Quinn promo that's $40 or whatever online, and they spent the money on it, I am no longer getting outskilled because I haven't put the paycheck in. It is one of my big issues with Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood, you have to have this legendary or majestic equipment. If you don't have it, your percentage points of winning go down like 5%, which is insane. Insane to just like not have that. And so when it comes to boss battles, since it is a cooperative game, we all are allowed to push and move towards a common goal. And I feel good because I have the power on my side. With it is still the same fundamentals. And Zach, we didn't get a chance to play the boss battles. I think the boss battles that were made and designed by UniVersus and the way that they designed and described them are bad. It was a half-cooked idea. It did not have enough time in the oven. Bear, you don't have to say anything. It didn't have enough time in the oven. Changing the vernacular of how boss battles work inside of the boss battle setting works. Whenever you take and you play a card on the party's turn, instead of saying it's a form, I call it a maneuver. Big shout outs to Sam. I call it a maneuver. And you have 3 things that you can do as a maneuver. You can play an ability as a form, you can play a card out of your hand, or you can pass as the maneuver. Those are the 3 things that you get to do as a UniVersus player. I'm just not calling them regular forms. I'm calling them maneuvers. That's the same idea. So when it translates over to the actual game, it's you can make that leap in logic, and it is good enough for you to go, oh, this apple and this cran apple are close enough that I've got it. It's close enough. I can figure it out.
So, if I can,
please.
I think fundamentally, you're making an argument that your boss battle is good for introducing players. The boss battles are not, and
sure.
I think that's my problem. Is right. We have actually 4 different versions of UniVersus that people play. You have the demo that you get when you're a new player.
Yep.
That's game 1. And then you split your game experience. You either go play boss battles, which are a different game than the demo, or you play standard UFS, but you're at a low power level or a casual power level. That's a fundamentally different game than even the demo. It doesn't have half the card types.
Totally.
It's a fundamentally different game than boss battles, who have a different turn structure, a different mechanical structure, everything. And then you have competitive UniVersus that is not the same game as casual UniVersus in 90% of scenarios.
Sure.
So my problem is we're saying, hey, new players, go play boss battles. That's how you learn the game. But not really. That's not really how you're going to learn the game. Because you're not going to learn the back and forth of holding cards to build versus blocking versus what my opponent could do. Because your opponent does very predictable things on a very predictable schedule and way more often than an opponent would get to.
I don't disagree with you. I'm saying I know that it is different, but like I'm going to use an example with a partnered game. I think the idea of what the Proving Grounds product, which is coming out for Riftbound in October, is a perfect way to get people into the game. Now that one is different than what we're talking about, and I'm going to get to it in a second. That product is 4 pre-constructed decks in one box, and it is marketed as a board game experience. Because you can have board games where we work together cooperatively and we defeat a boss, or you can have board games where you're playing against the people at the table. This board game experience, the Proving Grounds, is you versus 3 other people at the table, 1v1v1v1, free for all. And you are playing pre-constructed decks, and they contain similar stuff, just with different leaders and different colored things. You don't get to change them. That's the board game experience. This is the board game. There's a winner every time. Who deserves? It's based off of strategy and decisions that you make. Awesome. That's great. Those same cards are legal for play in the competitive version of Riftbound, which is a very different game. It plays differently. There's less battlefields on the board. It's 1v1. You can also take the board game. You can do 2v2. There's a third way to play the game. Fast forward. Compare it to the PvE boxing battles. I wish we had like a board game version experience of UniVersus, and the board game was just here's 4 challenger deck-esque things. You put it in a box, and it comes with X amount of bosses or whatever. And for your board game night, we all want to sit down and play UniVersus, the board game. It uses mechanics that are adjacent to UniVersus, the 1v1 experience. I understand that product doesn't exist, but that game, the board game of UniVersus playing against a boss, is fundamentally different than UniVersus of this game. But there are just enough connections to where the person who learned the board game experience can connect enough key points that matter in the 1v1 version to where they have a better head start than the person who didn't get to do that. Because the reality is, before boss battles existed, we had nothing else. We had nothing else. This is something. It ain't perfect. I get that it's not perfect. I think they're fun though, and the only reason why I have a lot of faith in them is because I've seen them work. I've gone to the Critical Role deck releases, and I had people I'd never seen in my entire life show up, and they go, "I don't know how to play this game." Granted, I held their hand. I'm a veteran player, and the reality is that's probably how most people learn our game, is that somebody holds their hand the entire time because that's how we want to do. But they learned the game by playing against this piece of cardboard on the table instead of against me. And then fast forward a month or two later, they knew more about the game than the person that I had been trying to demo and learn when I was teaching years before, not even years before, a year before, because I didn't have that tool. I'm not saying it's perfect. It's not perfect. It is a different game. It should be advertised as such, and it is because the rules are different. I think it's a good tool. It's a better tool than we've ever had, and that's why I think it's good, and that's why I would recommend it. That's why I would recommend it.
I think. I mean, to truly answer your question, Zach, the answer is, I don't think there is a way to play the game that I recommend to new players.
Yeah, yeah.
I think just to like a 51% answer, there just isn't a way to do it. Full stop. You've done success. There isn't one.
Sure.
That is not good for UniVersus. That is not good for personally me as a content creator, somebody who's trying to get more people into the game. That is not good in general. So I am doing what I can to make the boss battles a new player friendly experience, because I think that the idea of the boss battles is very good. It makes sense with the IP acquisition that we have. That like imagine it makes sense for the Star Trek Star Trek Challenger decks to come out as a board game. I bought a board game product for $100. I get all 4 of the decks that are all legal. Half of the cards literally say the words like retaliation on them rather than rival attack. And half of the cards are playable inside of regular standard. Half of them are for boss battles, half of them are for not. And you literally just separate them, right? Like that's exactly what Barrett wants. I'm on the Cerritos. I've got 4 jobs that I have to do. Each job is specific for each player, and we all come together and we finish the mission. That sounds sick. That sounds really cool. It doesn't exist from the parent company, and so us as the players, we have to be the cockroaches of card games, and we have to figure out how to get people to jump into our game, and shoving them into the deep end of the pool of competitive play, going, hey, I've got $1,000 deck, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to beat your ass. You're going to get some very masochistic players, and it's the reason we have 100 people in our game.
Yeah, I can agree with all that. I thought the Star Trek decks were going to roll out with some sort of improved cooperative experience because of how many characters were worded in a way that made them look like they were going to be a cooperative experience. And I get what you're saying around, as a community project, making improvements to that experience and all of that. Yeah, I don't have any qualms with that. I just like, and I'm excited to. We're gonna play your boss battle in Louisville. I'm excited to do it.
It's so much better. It's
It
so
just,
much better.
it's just so it is. It's so weird to me because I from like a new player experience, I just didn't get it on how like how they even learned the game from a boss battle, given how different it is. Because and it may just be as an experienced player, I know what's different, and therefore it feels way different, and a new player might not necessarily know that.
I think
And,
that's
and I don't
that's
disagree with that
fair.
sentiment because
Yeah.
I didn't get it either, and then I saw it work, and I went, "Well, this is weird," because I didn't have this becoming a UniVersus player. I didn't have this at all. I had some schmuck teaching me how to play in a card store, and I had to jam games against them just to figure out what the heck I was doing. And you're right, I didn't get it, and I saw it work, and I had more people show up to a locals than I ever had because they were down to sit down and play against a boss. And I went, I'm down. I'll crack open a cold one and I'll jam cards against a piece of cardboard on the table. And then you can take it a step further, right, and do things that even like Tim Friedlieb did with the content creators and stuff at Worlds or whatever, and like he like DM'd it, which was like cool, I guess, and some people really enjoyed that, and you like take it a step further, right, and then obviously like what Tam is doing. So like I'm not saying it is apples and oranges 100%, but it does work, and it's better than what we've ever had access to, because I don't disagree with you. Shoving them into the deep end and just having to play, like what you said, the comparison, the casual universes versus competitive universes, not the same thing as the demo experience, not even the same thing as challenger decks versus each other 100%. But the boss battle is a better grease than something we've ever had before,
It
even
is
with how bare bones it is.
it is a half step forward that I am currently trying to put on my back and take the thing that universe is a good idea that was not flushed out and 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 making it better, right? And I think and there should be more people doing it. So I am not a fan of triple threat. Not that's not for me. I think that we should there somebody should champion. Hey, let's make triple threat really good, right? Let's change the rules enough to make triple threat really really awesome. I will tweak how UniVersus is played ever so slightly in order to make triple threat happen. Um,
It's like the same reason, or sorry, it's like the same way Commander got started. It's
correct.
because someone decided to take this idea and make it happen.
Yes.
In Star Wars Unlimited, it happened almost immediately when the game came out. Someone took it upon themselves to build upon this rule set, and if you do a good enough job, sometimes the company cares and they take it over, or they want to help.
Yeah.
So like, yeah,
Yeah, makes
I
sense.
just think it's a start, right? I just think it's better than what we've had before, and that's only because I can say that because I've been playing the game for 10 years.
Yeah, makes sense.
So
Cool.
here's my pushback to you, Zach. Here's the next question. If not boss battles, what? As a recommendation for new players to play normal universes.
So I think that's two different. There's some subtlety there, right? So I think we all agreed that the Universe's boss battles are less good than the TAM boss battles. So would TAM's effort or the community's effort be better spent trying to convince the company to even up the casual and competitive experience a little bit, get a little closer? Maybe they look kind of the same, and when you show up with a casual deck, you're not instantly destroyed by even a like up and coming player just with a competent deck or whatever. If you're asking me, how do you get new players to play the game? I think challenger decks are a good way to go. And another good way to go is helping them build a deck by letting them borrow cards, showing them how to play, coaching them. I'm willing to accept your premise that boss battles are a better tool than we've had. That seems totally reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think my last note is I think it also really depends on who you're teaching, because sometimes what we found what we found out was sometimes you release 4 challenger decks of the product and somebody tells you, "Oh, this is all we do for board game night." And I go, "What do you mean?" And they go, "We just crack open the challenger decks and we play against each other and that's all we do." And I go, what do you mean? That doesn't make sense to me." And they go, "No, that's what my family does. We bought the decks, so we bought the Star Trek decks or whatever, so we could play them against each other. And one day I'll play this deck, and then one day my son will play a different deck, and then my wife will play this deck, and that's what we do. We do it for board game night." And I go, "Wow, that's really cool. And you guys you
That
just
sounds
do it
kind
to
of
have
sick,
fun."
actually.
Yeah, and you're like, "Wow, that's just what you do to have fun." And they're like, "Yeah, we just play UniVersus for fun." And I go, "Wow, I wish more people did that." Or vice versa, in a similar idea, I wish we had a board game experience like the boss battles that are specifically demographed to be a different experience than the challenger deck experience, because they are different. And I think because one way of how someone is going to learn the game better is different than someone else's. And I think if there's just more ways to do it, aka a boss battle is just one more way to do it to ease the pathway, it is a lot different than the abrupt version, which is what you told us, because that's what we all did. Which is, yeah, I had someone hold my hand, and I borrowed cards from them, and I built a deck with them, and I jammed games with them, and like that's to us the only way to do it. And the reality is that's not true.
It was so. I'm gonna use the word heartbreaking, even though it's like a feels good story of Danny from the Coping with Cardboard channel. I think 3 weeks ago, after playing the game for like 2 years, won the locals, which is dope, which is so cool. That's so awesome. And they were so excited about winning their locals that I went undefeated at my locals and I won. I finally won. I got a room full of killers and I won. It is easy for you to get the endorphins of playing UniVersus and getting the play patterns down, whether they are, if you squint your eyes and you look at it with maneuvers instead of playing forms, and you have a party leader and retaliations rather than an attack and activations, you can still get those same neurons to fire in a boss battle and get the endorphins of I won a game of UniVersus versus a boss battle, rather than the I got the neurons from winning at my locals. And it is way easier to take somebody who is 2 weeks in and go, instead of playing hyper competitive sweaty games, let's all work together and play this. It is the reason. I looked up this stat. I will look it up again because I closed my window. The sales of Monster Hunter as a franchise versus the sales of Street Fighter as a franchise. Monster Hunter, a game that came out significantly later than Street Fighter, has sold 120 million units, while Street Fighter has only sold 56 million. Because people want to play collaboratively towards a common goal versus a 1v1 experience where I am testing myself. That is just the case.
I'm a prime example of this. If you've played MMOs, I hate PvP. I hate it. I absolutely detest it. I only play MMOs that are high PvE content. I want to work together with my friends, not against them. But yeah, you're right. I do like the question though,
Yeah.
and I don't disagree with you, Zach. I wish more was done with them in general.
Yeah.
I wish more was done with them. I think there's a lot of space there, and I'm hoping that like things like Riftbound's Proving Grounds product pave the way on why it is a good idea.
So I want to circle back, and officially, we're actually off stream. My
That's
stream
true.
died.
Your thing died.
Yeah. So YouTube frogs, VOD frogs, you get this. I think the biggest issue here is that there just isn't a new player friendly way to like play the game and design the game or whatever. I don't think starter decks are it. I don't think challenger decks are it. I don't think that sealed is it. And so like I get to do this thing and I get to make this thing that I'm passionate about. You said, is my effort better spent showing UniVersus the like this idea? I think the answer is no. And the reason is because I don't know how to get that company to that large company to move and change its ship in a direction that makes sense. And printing is difficult, and I have tried to show my boss battle to people on the design team, and they've looked at me and said, I'm not legally allowed to look at this. Because it is fan-made stuff. If we end up turning around and printing something similar, you could sue me. And I go, but I'm not going to. And they go, we don't care. You could. And so I literally can't do that. You know what I can do? I can't go show it to Sean O'Brien and say, hey, man, do you want to make these for your site event? Go host a buy a box where people spend $20 to go in and play. And if they beat the boss, which is hard, they go get a cool promo. You could lie. But the point is to play a fun experience. If we have somebody who goes 0-3 drop because this is the first time they've ever been to a regional, and hey, here's a new way to play the game, here's a new way, we're all going to work together to do it, I could potentially hook that person to come and play the game more. And I think that going for and pushing it for the company just isn't going to make sense. Also, they're not paying me for it. So like if they want to put me on, if the goal is that they like my boss battle and TamCardwell is the head of boss battle design and they give me a contract and a paycheck and insurance or whatever, sick. That sounds awesome. But for the time being, it's just for cool community use and it's a thing that I am passionate about.
Yeah. And I think it's really cool that you're passionate. I think it's really cool that you put it out. Mm-hmm. I think but the point I was trying to make is like the company has limited development time, right? There's only so many people working on a product. There's only so many people in design. Instead of spending their cycles on designing boss battles, could they not be spending cycles making casual UniVersus just better?
I mean, the short
not a
answer,
question any of us can answer, right? Like,
the short answer is yes. Every single day they should be working to make new player experiences better. The question is how do you effectively make that happen on the budget they have, on the timeline they have, at a quick enough pace, right? It is a tough cookie to crack for sure. It is difficult.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Thanks for the conversation, guys. I do have to run.
All good.
Oh, thank you for the question.
It was
the
great.
reason why we can do this.
Yeah. Appreciate it. We'll see you, buddy.
See you later.